The night in Paris is a special kind of magic. It is a soft blanket of deep blue, dotted with a million sparkling lights. The city breathes a gentle sigh, and the air fills with romance. On the banks of the River Seine, the water reflects the shimmering glow of the street lamps and the distant Eiffel Tower. It is a place where dreams feel close enough to touch. The gentle lapping of the water against the stone walls sounds like a soft, romantic song. This is the Paris that captures hearts. It promises unforgettable moments and whispers stories of love to anyone who is willing to listen. The city itself feels alive, a silent character in every love story that unfolds within its embrace. Sophie and Julien stood there side by side, watching the boats glide by. They were two young souls just beginning to discover the world and each other. Sophie, with her bright, curious eyes, saw wonder in every little detail. She saw the way the light danced on the water. Julien, with his thoughtful smile, felt the history and the passion of the city all around him. He felt a connection not just to Paris, but to the girl standing next to him. In that moment, surrounded by the quiet beauty of the Parisian night, something special began. It was a silent understanding, a feeling that this was the start of a beautiful journey together. Their first conversation was as gentle as the river's flow. They talked about their dreams, their hopes, and what brought them to this incredible city. Sophie spoke of becoming an artist, inspired by the masterpieces in the Louvre. Julien shared his passion for history, for the stories hidden in the city's ancient stones. Laughter came easily, echoing softly over the water. It felt as if they had known each other for a lifetime, not just a few hours. The city lights seemed to twinkle a little brighter, as if celebrating the new connection being formed between them. This was their Parisian embrace, a moment wrapped in the city's enchanting arms. As the night grew deeper, a comfortable silence fell between them. Words were no longer needed. They simply stood together, feeling the warmth of each other's presence against the cool night air. The city of Paris was their witness. It saw the beginning of their love story, a story that was now woven into the fabric of the city itself. They felt small in the grandness of Paris, but together, they felt like they could conquer anything. The magic of the city had found them, and in that first quiet moment by the Seine, they knew their lives were about to change forever. Their Parisian embrace was not just a hug, it was the start of everything. Their love story grew with every step they took through Paris. The city became their playground, a beautiful map of their growing affection. They climbed the Eiffel Tower, and from the top, the world seemed to stretch out just for them. The city looked like a sparkling jewel box, and they felt like its keepers. Holding hands, they looked out at the magnificent view, feeling on top of the world. Then they stood beneath the Grand Arc de Triomphe, feeling humbled by its size and history. It was a reminder of the strength and endurance that they hoped their own love would have. Each monument they visited was not just a tourist spot, it became a chapter in their shared story. Their days were filled with simple, beautiful moments. They wandered through the elegant Tuileries garden, where flowers bloomed in a riot of color. They sat on a bench, sharing a warm, flaky croissant and laughing about silly things. The taste of sweet pastries and strong coffee became the flavor of their romance. In the evenings, they would often hear the sound of an accordion playing a classic French melody in the distance. This music became the soundtrack to their love story. It was in these small details, the taste of a macaron, the sound of a street musician, the sight of children playing in a park, that they found the true heart of Paris and of each other. One evening, they dressed up and went to the magnificent Palais Garnier, the famous opera house. The golden interiors and the grand chandeliers took their breath away. They felt like a prince and princess in a fairy tale. As they watched the performance, they didn't just see the story on the stage, they felt their own love story unfolding, full of passion, drama, and beauty. The grand architecture of the opera house seemed to mirror the grand feelings that were growing inside their hearts. It was a night of pure elegance and romance, a memory they would treasure as a symbol of the beauty they were building together. Everywhere they went, the city seemed to encourage their love. The romantic atmosphere of Paris was all around them. It was in the air they breathed, in the art they saw, and in the smiles of strangers they passed on the street. They learned that Paris was more than just a place. It was a feeling. It was the feeling of being completely and utterly in love. As they explored the city's famous landmarks, they were also exploring the depths of their own hearts. Each new discovery about Paris was a new discovery about themselves and their relationship. Their journey was a beautiful dance between exploring a city and exploring a soulmate. Even in a city as magical as Paris, real life has its challenges. Sometimes, the vastness of the city made Sophie feel small and insecure. She looked at the incredible art in the museums and wondered if her own dreams of being an artist were just foolish. Doubt began to creep into her mind like a cold shadow. Was she good enough? Did she belong in a place with so much history and talent? These feelings of insecurity sometimes made her quiet and distant. The vibrant colors of the city would seem to fade, and she would feel lost in the crowd, even when Julien was right by her side. Julien had his own struggles. He was studying history, a field filled with brilliant minds. The weight of expectation felt heavy on his shoulders. He often worried about the future, and whether he could build a life that was worthy of his dreams and worthy of Sophie. Sometimes, he would walk the historic streets and feel like a ghost, disconnected from the great stories he admired. These worries would make him serious and preoccupied, and a silence would fall between him and Sophie. In these moments, the magical city felt less like a dream and more like a difficult test they were not sure they could pass. Their challenges sometimes led to misunderstandings. A quiet mood from Sophie would be interpreted by Julien as disappointment in him. His serious silences would make Sophie feel like she was not enough to make him happy. The easy laughter that once filled their days was replaced by hesitant conversations and worried glances. The romantic city lights still twinkled, but sometimes they failed to see them. They were learning that love is not always as effortless as a walk by the Seine. It requires patience, understanding, and the courage to be vulnerable, even when you feel scared and insecure. The city of Paris, which had brought them together, now seemed to test them. The pressure of a new life in a big city, combined with their personal insecurities, created friction. They had to learn how to communicate their fears instead of hiding them. They had to learn to listen, not just with their ears, but with their hearts. These struggles were not a sign that their love was failing. Instead, they were the challenges that would ultimately make their bond stronger. They were discovering that true love is not about avoiding the shadows, but about learning how to hold hands and walk through them together. One evening, when their doubts felt heaviest, they found themselves on the Pont des Arts. It was the famous bridge where lovers once attached locks to symbolize their unbreakable bond. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. Looking at the flowing river below, they started to talk. This time, they did not hide their fears. Sophie spoke about feeling small and lost, and Julien shared his worries about the future. For the first time, they let all their insecurities show, and in that moment of complete honesty, they found comfort not in easy answers, but in each other's presence. Julien took Sophie's hand. He told her that her art was beautiful because it was hers, full of a light that no one else had. He said that facing the future was scary, but facing it with her made him feel brave. Sophie looked at him and saw not a man weighed down by history, but a man with a kind and steady heart. She told him that his passion was inspiring and that his love made her feel stronger than she ever had before. On that bridge, they were not just two people with doubts. They were a team, ready to face the world together. The city felt magical again, not because it was perfect, but because they had found their strength in it. He pulled her into a warm embrace, and they held each other tightly as the last light of day faded. It was more than just a hug. It was a promise. It was a promise to support each other's dreams, to listen to each other's fears, and to always find their way back to one another. The city of Paris wrapped itself around them like a protective blanket. The lights on the riverboats began to glow, and the Eiffel Tower started its nightly sparkle. In that embrace, all their worries seemed to melt away, replaced by a feeling of deep peace and unwavering love. They were home, right there in each other's arms. As they stood on the bridge, they realized something profound. Their love was like Paris itself. It was beautiful and grand, but it also had its complexities and its history. It was strong enough to withstand challenges and timeless enough to last forever. The city was not just the setting for their love story, it was a part of it. They knew there would be more challenges ahead, but they also knew they would face them together. Their Parisian embrace had taught them that love is the true magic. And as they walked off the bridge, hand in hand, they stepped into a future that felt as bright and as everlasting as the City of Light.